A very good evening to you. And welcome along to another Sweet and Swing here on Manx Radio. My name's Howard Kane. A pleasure as always to have your company every other Friday night. What have we got? What about some Russ Conway? Jumping with Cab Calloway. Bob Crosby and his orchestra. Much more besides, but to start off, a bit of a Harlem Congo with the inimitable Chick Webb. Good enough way to get going, isn't it? Harlem Congo with Chick Webb and his orchestra. And great player, he wonderful character, sort of man you'd have liked to have met, in that he sort of didn't have the best time in life. Like I said, he had that deformity which he had after falling downstairs. It was the general story that when he was very small and an infant, he fell down the stairs, crushed several vertebrae, had surgery. I dare say surgery in those days wasn't quite what it is now. and he never really fully regained mobility after that, and ended up with getting tuberculosis of the spine. So it left him rather short, and he looked like he had a sort of hunched back. However, it didn't let him put him off at all, particularly when you think how physical he was behind the drum kit and how influential he was in his years, and also what a sort of a leader he was. And that towards the end of his life, he was still playing, even though he was suffering in ill health and quite often pass out apparently after gigs from exhaustion. But he wanted to carry on playing, because if he stopped, the band would fold and all the men in the orchestra would have no work, particularly during the Great Depression. So he carried on all the time. Ella Fitzgerald led the Chick Webb band, of course, after she left to focus on her own solo career in 1942. But she did lead it for a time before she became well known in her own name. And that eventually, when she went on, caused the band to break up. Duke Ellington, Art Blakey both say that Webb influenced their music. Gene Krupa said Webb raised the awareness of the drummer and led the way for drummer-led bands like Blakey's, of course, and like Gene Krupa and Louis Bellson as well. His funeral, apparently, 12th of February 1940, drew a crowd of 7,500 people in Baltimore, Maryland. You can imagine, yes, it's a Chick Webb benefit in Baltimore, Maryland. Absolutely amazing. And Sally Webb, Chick's own widow, is there, along with the governor of Maryland, Herbert R. O'Connor, and the world champion boxer Joe Louis, all attended. Amazing stuff. And a great player he. How are we all, in any case? Are we getting used to this alternating with jumping in? I hope so. I hope you don't turn off every other Friday and just come in for Sweet and Swing. I know it won't be for everyone, but, try it out. I'm still here, just playing some modern jazz with Brother Chris, and you might like one or two tracks, even not all of them. Either way, it's nice to be here in any case, as always. And we've almost had a bit of summery weather, would you believe? I know, I better not say any more, I'll just jinx it, won't I? Let's go from one Chick to another, from Chick Webb to Chick Henderson. Here he is with Joe Loss in 1937, in the chapel, in the moonlight.
I'd love to hear the organ in the chapel in the moonlight while we're strolling down the aisle where roses entwine. How I'd love to hear you whisper in the chapel in the moonlight that the love light in your eyes forever will shine till the roses turn to ashes, till the organ turns to rust. If you never come, I'll still be there till the moonlight turns to dust. How I'd love to hear the choir in the chapel in the moonlight as they sing, oh, promise me forever be mine.
Great voice, very distinctive. Chick Henderson, favourite vocalist with Joe Loss for quite some time, and I think sadly died in the war from friendly fire. Was that right, Chick Henderson? I seem to recall it was on a naval or merchant navy ship or something along those lines. But shrapnel from friendly fire, I seem to think, was the cause of his demise at far too young an age, but some great recordings to remember him by there. And Joe Loss, no stranger to Manx shores over the years, as so many of the great band leaders were back in the day. A lot of them, I think, played here. Certainly, well, like I said, Joe was a regular here for a long time, wasn't he? And, well, I don't know, you name it, they were probably here at some stage. Might have even played with the old maestro, for that matter. Used to support quite a lot of them. Why not, as they say. Let's have a bit of one of his favourite pianists of all time, Art Tatum. We've got Chapels and Moonlight. So what about some Moon Glow? He was widely regarded, of course, as one of the greatest of all time, and so influential on everyone who followed on from him. Art Tatum grew up in Ohio and had his own radio show when he was still in his teens. Never realised that. I must have been sort of reading a bit more about him. And left Toledo in 1932 and had residencies then in clubs all over the place in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, And yeah, he'd do a paid performance somewhere, and then he'd play for hours afterwards in clubs or speakeasies, whatever the case may be. Usually, as it notes, accompanied by prodigious consumption of alcohol. Oh, yeah, sadly, it was the norm, I think, back in the day. And whilst it didn't affect his piano playing, it did, of course, affect his health. You can't drink an awful lot like that for year upon end and not end up doing some sort of damage. Yeah, sadly, died far too young, as a lot of them did. But my word, could he play? Could he ever play? I promised you some Bob Crosby. We haven't had Bob for a while, have we? Bob Crosby and his orchestra. Volume 5 of the complete recordings. I confess, I don't know whether there are the other 4 volumes knocking round. If they are, they've disappeared, I think, in any case. But here is Volume 5, You're Driving Me Crazy. Bob and his orchestra. And what about Dogtown Blues? That was a bit of all right, wasn't it? 2 blues for the price of 1. So what do we just have there? Well, we had a Bob Brookmeyer. The blues, hot and cold, the Bob Brookmeyer Quartet. Well, it might have just been... it was a quartet, wasn't it? I was going to say it's a trio, and that was a quartet. And that was Hot and Cold Blues. Bob Brookmeyer, the valve trombone specialist. Jimmy Riles at the piano. Mel Lewis, drums, and Buddy Clark at the bass. Fine sound it made as well. Following straight on from Mr. Crosby, which was Dogtown Blues. Bob Crosby and his orchestra. Somewhat earlier, it has to be said, than the latter, which was recorded in 1960. But that was recorded, somewhat before that, the 1940s, I think it was. Just trying to see if they've got an exact date on that. And of course they haven't. It's always the way when you look at something like that. Suffice to say, it'd be around about 1940 because Volume 5 covered up until late 1938. So just a tad before that. A good sound as well. One of the most important providers of musical entertainment, perhaps Bob Crosby, during the latter half of the 1930s. And the creative output of the band generally was way up there, and Bob himself never really wanted to be a musician. And as it's remarked in the notes, it's curious that the residual members of Ben Pollack's band after its demise in 1934 should have hired him to be their leader, perhaps because they subconsciously realised that Bob's affable personality and easygoing style would prevent power struggles for leadership from any one of the considerable talents that constituted the band. After all, which one of them could compete with a non-musician leader? That's a good point, isn't it? Bob, for his part, had peer pressure from his brother. Who was his brother then? Bing, of course, Bing Crosby, who at the time was achieving something of a reputation. Well, yes, he did build on that for a number of years, didn't he? If not the world's top popular singer, it was probably this unusual set of circumstances which conspired, it is remarked, to maintain Bob as one of the most respected big band leaders. Yeah, and he most certainly was, wasn't he, I think? We should play him more. I'll keep that one in the bag, shall I? I'll keep that one in the bag for the time being. It is Sweet and Swing with myself, H, here with you until the top of the hour, and in our new position on a Friday. Well, I say not so new now. We're getting used to it, are we? Maybe not everyone likes it, but there we are. That's change for you sometimes. There'll be another change around at some stage, I dare say. But alternating at the moment on a Friday night with Jumping In, our sister programme, which looks at contemporary and modern jazz. So we're here this week. And of course, don't forget, if you want more of us, it's podcast. So assume within 2 or 3 minutes of the programme finishing, you can go to the Manx Radio website or your favourite podcast provider, wherever that might be, and download the podcast to your device and listen again and again and again if you want, wherever you want, whenever you want, however you want. In the bath, in the shower, in the garden, in the car, you name it. The wonders of modern technology. So take your pick, and you can get, there must be dozens and dozens of them there to choose, so you won't get bored, I would hope. I was trying to clear out the cupboard, the old Sweet and Swing cupboard, and by that I mean the right-hand drawer of my desk here at the Black Satanic Mill at Manx Radio Towers, and I found a lovely letter written earlier this year from Linda Brown. Hello to you, Linda. I hope you're still listening. Well, I hope you're still listening, really, yes. Why? Drop us a line with another request sometime, because you wrote a lovely letter saying how much you've been enjoying the programme, and also came up with this cracking idea as well, a suggestion. You said some tracks by the Comedian Harmonists, the 1930s group from Germany. They had to disband for all the wrong reasons. Well, yes, they did, sadly, and I think we outlined that last time, but left us with a great legacy of musical comedy. Who says the Germans have no sense of humour? Well, I thought we could hear a little bit more of them again. Why not? And it seems very appropriate given the weekend we have had, one of the first sunny ones here on the Isle of Man. Wochenend and Sonnenschein.
Wochenend, Sonnenschein, brauchst du mehr, um glücklich zu sein. Wochenend und Sonnenschein und dann mit dir im Wald allein. Weiter brauch ich nicht zum Glücklichsein, Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Über uns die Lerchen zieht, sie singen genau wie wir ein Lied. Alle Vöglein stimmen fröhlich ein, Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Kein Auto, keine Chaussee und niemand in unserer Nähe. Da tief im Wald nur ich und du, der Herrgott drückt ein Auge zu, denn er schenkt uns ja zum Glücklichsein Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Nur 6 Tage sind der Arbeit, doch am 7. Tag sollst du, sprach der Herrgott, doch wir haben auch am 7. Tag zu tun. Wochenend und Sonnenschein und dann mit dir im Wald allein. Weiter brauch ich nicht zum Glücklichsein. Wochenend und Sonnenschein. Über uns die Lerche zieht, sie singt genau wie wir ein Lied. Alle Vöglein stimmen fröhlich ein, Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Kein Auto, keine Chaussee und niemand in unserer Nähe. Tief im Wald nur ich und du, der Herrgott drückt ein Auge zu, denn er schenkt uns ja zum Glücklichsein Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Wochenende und Sonnenschein und dann mit dir im Wald allein. Weiter brauch ich nicht zum Glücklichsein Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Über uns die Lerche zieht, sie singt genau wie wir ein Lied. Alle Vöglein stimmen fröhlich ein, Wochenende und Sonnenschein. Kein Auto, keine Chaussee und niemand in unserer Nähe. Tief im Wald nur ich und du, der Herrgott drückt ein Auge zu, denn er schenkt uns ja zum Glücklichsein Wochenende und Sonnenschein.
Good sound, good harmonies, nice upbeat number. The happy day. You recognise the tune, here again. Yeah, you recognise it. Nice, cheerful one. Massively popular in their day, the comedian harmonists. But then, yes, it was that period. It was around the Second War that was all mixed up with Germans and the Jews, and it all, as they say, went to hell in a handcart, I'm afraid. And yes, some of them moved, some of them stayed. However, as Linda, we won't dwell on it now, but as Linda says, we happily have their recordings to remind us that, well, the magic of music, I guess, and, you know, it's so many things, music, culture, plays, cookery, food, all these things that can actually unite people rather than dividing them. And Lord knows, we could do with more dosages of that in the current era as well, couldn't we? Rapid, upbeat, very much on the sweet side of a sweet and swing. Oh, I suppose it did swing as well, wasn't it? A Walk in the Black Forest, Russ Conway at the piano. You don't hear much from Russ these days, do you, on the airwaves? Russ joined Pye in 1971, following a stint at the London Palladium, which of course was then run by Louis Benjamin, who happened to run Pye Records. And his first release was How Small We Are, How Little We Know, the music which was based on Gilles' harp concerto. In the early 60s, Russ was never really far away. Massively a star again from radios and television, and was so in demand that all of the country's major theatres, everyone thought he would be there forever. But despite the illness and inevitable fall in demand that all artists in show business experience, well, at some stage, don't they? It all comes to everyone, even the greatest. Russ kept selling records and filling theatres right up until he passed away. Sadly, again, rather too young. His residency at the Billy Cotton Band show in the 1950s and 60s, possibly leading or a major contributory factor to his super popularity. And he had a platform for every new record that he made. He appeared in his own television and radio series. Anyone remember that? Hands up at the back. Do you remember the Russ Conway show? I can't say that I do. The last of them was actually just called Russ Hour. Russ, you see, play on words there. Russ Hour. Very good indeed. In the early 1970s. I don't remember that at all, do you? Russ Hour. Let me know if you do. Drop me a line. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. Kane with an E at Manx, M-A-N-X radio, all one word, .com. And we could play some more Russ if you like, if you really liked it. And he kept on making guest appearances on TV and radio. And it was claimed that more letters were received after one of his appearances than by any other artists. Can't be bad, can it? Died in November of 2000. Amazingly, that's almost a quarter of a century ago, but don't think about that too much. But do drop us a line, like I say, if you'd like to hear more Russ, if you remember Russ Hour, or like Linda, if you've got a favourite artist you haven't really heard before, drop us another line, Linda. She writes a nice letter on proper paper, real paper, really nice, neat handwriting, unlike mine. It wasn't on Basel and Bond, she said it's too expensive. However, it was a very nice letter in beautiful handwriting, it has to be said. So put pen to paper again, Linda, and have another request. Why not? And if you've got any thoughts, Howard Kane at manxradio.com is the email way, or if you like, the Linda way. And also, I think, well, there's a few other, John, I think, does it as well. A little card or something, it's always lovely. So you can always drop me a line, Howard Kane, Sweet and Swing, Manx Radio, Broadcasting House, and that's Douglas Head, probably, in Douglas. Douglas Head, in Douglas. I dare say you put Douglas, it'll still get there. Douglas Head, Douglas, Isle of Man, IM15BW. And it'll get there, almost certainly. Blossom Dearie, lined up. Haven't heard from Blossom for a while. I'm going to put that right now.
Do I want you? Oh my, do I, honey? Indeed I do. Do I need you? Oh my, do I, honey? Indeed I do. I'm glad that I'm the one who found you. That's why I'm always hanging round you. Do I love you? Oh my, do I, honey? Indeed I do. Honey, honey, do I love you, honey, deed I do.
Very nice indeed, and I was thinking what nice brushwork, well recorded as well. And it will be good brushwork. It was Joe Jones, Papa Joe Jones, rather than Philly Joe Jones, on the drums. Ray Brown at the bass, not bad, eh? And Blossom Dearie singing and playing the piano as well. Super talented she was. Played quite a few times in London. I'd love to have seen her playing at somewhere like Ronnie Scott's in a relatively intimate setting. Would have been very nice indeed. And I always like that. What was the one about the hanging there? Da, 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 on telephone, I've got my baby's number. That was Blossom, I think, wasn't it? Great number. Enjoyed that one. I'll keep that one out for the time being. Keep that in the bag. Blossom Dearie. Just called Blossom Dearie on Vocal Classics from Polygram and Verve. Not bad at all. Cab Calloway. I found this one when I was lurking for something to play this week. And someone's broken the case. I have to be careful there. The Jumpin' Jive. Minnie the Moocher and the Jumpin' Jive. And how about Minnie the Moocher's wedding day?
Here's some news that'll get you. It's made to order for you. I just bet it's a cinch you follow up this red hot glue. Grab a taxi and go down. Chinatown's on a spree. Let me give you the lowdown. This is really history. Whenever folks in Chinatown start acting gay, there's something in the air that makes them feel that way. Yeah, man, I heard somebody say it's Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. Old Smokey Joe's so happy he could hardly wait. He spent $1 million for his wedding cake. Yeah, man, they gonna celebrate. It's Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. You better come on down. You better come on down. Way down to Chinatown. Way down to Chinatown. Oh, let me take you down. Oh, let me take you down. To see them kick the gong around. 1,000,000 cokies shouting, hey, hey, hey. The King of Sweden's gonna give the bride away. Yeah, man, I heard somebody say it's Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. The king and queen of every nation were glad to get an invitation. The Prince of Wales said he would get away for Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. They said 100,000 hoppies went over to China picking poppies. They gonna put them all in one bouquet for Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. Hotty, hotty, hot. Hotty, hotty, hot. Moocher's wedding day. Yeah, man! Why, what's that them boys say? It's Minnie the Moocher's wedding day.
Following on from his classic, I think, trying to capitalise on getting another bite from the cherry after the great success of Minnie the Moocher. Cab Calloway with Minnie the Moocher's wedding day. Yes, fairly directly derived from Minnie the Moocher in more ways than one, even including the chorus. And Cab Calloway, again, I always thought it was a nickname, and it wasn't. He really was Cab. His full name was Cabell or Cable, an unusual name, Cabell. Now, if he was Cab, does that make him Cabell, or was it Cable and became Cab? I don't know, but he was born Cab Calloway in 1907. Unusual name, that, isn't it? Quite like it, Cabell. Not bad. And yeah, became one of the most well-known scat singers in the time, mixing jazz and vaudeville and sort of, I suppose, pop in many ways, and had a great career going over some 65 years, and the first African-American musician to sell 1 million copies of a single record, and of course became known as the Heidi-Ho Man. Heidi-Hi. Well, we heard a bit of it there, didn't we? For his most famous song, Minnie the Moocher, originally recorded in 1931, and then he reached the Billboard charts in 5 consecutive decades, would you believe? That's quite an achievement. 30s right the way through to the 70s, and made lots of appearances on stage and film and television, and died at the age of 86 in 1994. And then came back posthumously, was famous again then, enjoyed a great resurgence in the film The Blues Brothers. I say, no, it wasn't actually posthumous, that was just before I think he died, wasn't he? It was in the 80s sometime. He became very popular again then. But he did posthumously receive the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, I see, in 2008, and Minnie the Moocher inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry just a few years ago in 2019. Also, I just noted, looking at Mr. Wiki, in 2022, the National Film Registry selected his home films for preservation as culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant films. Quite right too. You can't help but smile, can't you? And I love the chorus. Yeah, it just makes you smile. And hopefully that's what Sweet and Swing is all about. from the album Sentimental Date with Perry Como. Perry with the orchestra of Russ Case and Henri René. When Day Is Done, of course, recorded in New York City in 1945, by the looks of it. Studio 2, the 7th of October 1945. That might be the last from Perry for the time being. We've had a nice run of looking at... I can listen to him all the time, to be honest with you, all night and all day. Perry Como, the 4 classic albums from our friends at Avid, and we've been having a good dip into that one, but we might rest that one up because some other good stuff has come from Avid our way, so we'll give that a little sample as well. Give Perry a rest, bearing in mind that before you know it, it'll be Christmas. I know. Not yet August. Well, it is August, isn't it? Only 12 weeks to Halloween, or Hop Tune, as we say in these parts. Just saying. That is about it, though, for this edition of Sweet and Swing. Jumping in this place, same time next week. We'll be back with Sweet and Swing 2 weeks tonight. But check out Jumping In, like I said. You can always tune in and out a bit, see how it goes. Howard Kane at manxradio.com is the email. Requests, thoughts, brickbats, bouquets, all welcome. You take care. Cheerio.